Hey everybody. Today we're going to be doing an introduction video to the Scrapy framework. It is a web scraping framework that you can use to pull data off websites. You can do pretty advanced stuff with it. Today we're just going to do kind of a basic tutorial, but hopefully after this you'll have a better idea of what's possible using Scrapy and how to use it in your own projects. So as you see here, first thing you need to do is install it. So I'm going to switch over here. I already have it installed, but I'll just do the command anyway. So as you can see, requirement already satisfied. If you don't have it installed already, that command is what will actually install it. And then we got to pick a website to scrape. So for my project here for the tutorial, we're going to scrape Craigslist. If you're not familiar with Craigslist, it is a buy and sell site that anyone can post on. We're going to scrape the cars and trucks site here, and basically what we're going to try and do is pull the information off this page. So I want to grab the title of each of these, the link to the actual listing, which is here. We'll grab the price, the location, and the posting date. So to do that, we have to look at the CSS and figure out what we need to find, right? So as you can see here, there's a lot. So in order to get there, I guess, just in case you don't know, you'll right click and then view page source, and that will open up that page that we were just at. So in order to find what we want, I know that our first posting is going to be for a Camaro. So this will let us jump down here. All right. So here is the data that we need, right? Here's a link to the post. There's our title. Here's a price, a location, and here's our posting time. So now when you pick out your site, like, you're gonna have to do some digging. Since I've already kind of investigated this one, I can tell you that this is all contained within this line, right? li and HTML, that starts a new line object, and then that ends it. So all of this is our first result, right? The Chevy Camaro here. And then here, with this start there, that's the second result for that second Camaro. So in order to grab this block, right, in Scrapy, because that's what we need, we're going to say, well, first we're going to open up the Scrapy shell, like this. And that'll output some information that just tells you that Scrapy has started. And then we want to say, fetch a link. And fetch in Scrapy works kind of like using the request.get out of the request library. It basically just downloads the page, right? And it saves it in a variable that's called response. So then we can do view response. And that opens up this page here that looks identical to the other one minus pictures, but it's saved locally here. So that's what fetch does, is it downloads essentially a copy of the page, and then that's what we're actually looking at when we scrape the site. So to get that line object that we need, we're going to say response.css, and the .css lets you, it's a function that lets you specify a CSS selector that we want, right? So the CSS selector would be li, which is the HTML tag that we're looking for, and the li tag that we want specifically, it has the class result row, like that. And then we say .get, and that will go get the first one. So if we do a quick check here, well, it says it's an Oldsmobile, so maybe there's something. Okay, it's updated. So our first result is actually now an Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme, which is what it says here. So that gets that, and there's also .getAll, which will fetch every result row instead of just the first one, which is a lot here. But this is basically every single one of those result rows that's on the page. And then, okay, so what we want, let's try to grab the title. So within that, where am I here? There it is. So within the result row, so we do have, I mean, there is a link here. It doesn't look like it has the title and a price. I'm going to go down here inside of this P tag, right? So this P tag ends there. And it looks like in here we have everything that we should need. There's a posting time here, a link, the title, price, and location. So in order to get to like a nested location, all you do is add a space. So we're going to say the result row line item, and then we want P, the P tag within that result row with the class result info, and that should get us just this P tag. So going further inside, we want to get the A tag. And there we go. So we have this A tag which has both our link here and our title here. So if we just want to get the title, right, just this part right here, what we want to do is make that same call, but we're going to do this here on the 8. It's a : text. And what that will do is extract just the text from that tag. And something that confused me when I started with Scrapy is you would think that, say we want just the link, right, that's contained with href tag, you just do : href. But that gives us an error. So what we actually have to do to grab that part, let me get that displayed again. So what we actually need to do to grab this is to call the attribute selector, which is a : again, attr, and then you enter in the attribute that we want. So for this, we're entering href, because that's that. If we wanted this value, we could also enter data-id or class. But since we just want the link, we're just going to say href, and that'll output the link. So going on, now we need to get the result price that comes within result meta that is in result info. So let's pull this back up, and then it's a span tag dot result meta. So we started here, right, and then we moved in a step here, and then now we're moving in another step to this guy so that we can grab this. So it's another span tag, result dash price is the class. Dash price. So it should grab that tag. It does, that looks good. And then we just use that text selector again to get just the price. Looks good. And then basically we do the location the same way, except it's result hood instead. Instead of result price, we do result hood, and that gives us the text value. And I believe if we could do a dot strip on that. Yeah, and that gets rid of the space right there. Okay, I think the only thing we have left to do is grab the time. So time is not in the span class, it's just in the P class. So we can do, let me see, yeah, time. Response.css. We don't need to go inside the span class. We just need to grab the time. Alright. And I mean, we could specify the class here, do a time.resultDate, but since this is the only time class, just saying time should be good enough. And then I'm going to grab the title out of that. So we're going to do the attribute selector again, attr, and then title. Cool. So now that we've kind of interacted with this through the command line, I'm going to say exit. And I'm in this folder called Scrapy tutorial. And what we're going to do next, let me get to the right spot in my notes here, is, there we are. So I want to say Scrapy start project, all one word, tutorial. Alright. So that gives us this folder here, or a project package is what it actually is. And inside of that is another, and it's laid out kind of confusing because now we have a folder called tutorial, and inside of it is a folder called tutorial. In this base folder, you'll find the other folder called tutorial and your Scrapy config file. And then you go further into this. Here's where you have basically all of your settings files. And then you have a folder called spiders. And then right now inside spiders, all we have is an init.py. But what we're going to do here, which it even tells you, we're going to say Scrapy, oh whoops, if I need to cd into tutorial. cd is just change directory. And then Scrapy generate spider, Craigslist bot, and then we just give it, I believe, Craigslist.org. Or actually, I think we want to give it the full URL. Let me grab that. So we'll give it this full URL here. Where am I? And then that will give you created spider Craigslist bot using template basic in module tutorial.spiders.craigslistbot. So tutorial spiders, and there's Craigslist bot. So we can open that, and we can see that it gave itself a name, the allowed domains, which we'll change in just a second, and then start URLs. So allowed domains, for this one, since we're only scanning one page, this would actually work. Okay, so apparently I didn't do that right. You must not need to, I think I should have just passed it essentially indianapolis.craigslist.org / all that stuff without the HTTPS, and then it appends HTTP on there for us, but I'm just going to remove that. Anyway, so since we're only scanning one page, this would work, but normally what you're going to want to do if you're scanning more than one page or more than one domain is take all that off. So that's just saying we're just going to scan indianapoliscraigslist.org. If we were to call our spider on a link that wasn't in that domain, it wouldn't scrape it, because you don't want to scrape information that you don't need or just increase processing time for sites that you don't care about. So you want to change that to just match the domain. I mean, we could even just make it craigslist.org if we wanted to expand to other cities. So we'll leave that like that. And then parse is where we put the information that we just got out of the shell. We essentially write that here into parse. So let me open the shell back up and show you how we can do this a little bit cleaner, right? So we have, that's the longest one. So that gets our link, right? Oh, let me fetch it again. Okay, so for each one of these, everything we want is in that line tag. Right? So in order to iterate over all of them, we're just going to use a for loop. So for row in response.css li.result row. So that's going to iterate over each one of those rows. Then we can call our other selectors on row. So it would be like print, we do print row.css be p.result info and then let's do the title, so the text. So this should print out the title for every post on that page. Oh, you know what? We need to do a .get. Right there, .get. So that's all of our titles. All right, so then we want to do row.css and then this time it'll be, let's grab the link. Using our attribute tag. Oh, forgot to do, wait, no I didn't. Oh, it didn't like my command. Let me try and fix that real quick. Oh, duh. Forgot a parenthesis here. Okay. So I'm not going to go through all of the tags that we pulled, but that's the basic idea behind what we're going to do when we parse this page, right? So for row in response.css li result row, we're going to do something, right? And actually we can reduce this further, since everything that we want, right, is in this P class. Shoot. We can go P result, if I can spell, info, and then it prevents us typing that in every single one that we select, basically. So let's do just like we did down here. I'm going to grab the row.css. Don't need to say p.result info, we'll just say a text. And row.css a attr, the attribute of the href. That'll get us the link. and then we do row.css. I believe we can do the time, and then select the attribute title, and that'll grab us. So we'll grab the time, grab the title here, and then the next two things we need, price and location, are inside of this span class. Span result meta. So we can do row.css result meta, and then we want to select span result price, and then extract the text. And finally, we'll do row.css result meta span.result. It's not location, result hood. Extract the text. Oops. Text. And then on all these you want to do .get. And then for this one we wanted to strip it. Alright, so at this point, when we call our spider, it'll crawl the page. It'll go to this page and start that. Download the page, and then what we need it to do is have a way to output the data that we're pulling off. So to do that, we're actually going to use yield, and we're going to output it kind of like a dictionary. So basically each one of these lines is going to be like a dictionary row. Okay, I'll fix formatting in a second. So let me so what yield does is it returns information without ending the function, right? Because if I do, let me run that, exit out of here, open up Python shell for I in range 10, print I, but then return 0, return 0. What this is going to do is, it's a for loop, it's supposed to run 10 times, print out I, but since I return, it's just going to end the loop. Okay, but it's not inside a function, so that's a bad example. But anyway, with yield, it is able to output information to the Scrapy spider without ending the loop. So it's able to iterate over it basically returns multiple times. So we're going to give each of these a key, like you would in a dictionary. So that's our title. That's our link. Alright, so this one is our, we'll say posted. That's when the link was posted. So that's our price. And this guy is the location. Alright, so then as this runs, what it will do is for each of those result rows that we have, it'll output basically a dictionary with these values. So the way that we want to call that me double check I have everything here. Alright, so we should be good to run our spider now. Let me get out of our Python shell. So from here, what we can do is say Scrapy crawl Craigslist bot. List Craigslist bot. And then so that goes through. Oh, that gives us an error. Oh, we'll just take that off to avoid errors. I'm not bugged by a little space. Let me run that again. Okay, so it outputs a bunch of information really fast. But if we go back up here to the top to where it started, what this is telling you, started your bot, what settings it's using, and then that's just more what settings it's using. And then here, so it tried to crawl Craigslist robots.txt. And basically what that does is if you go to your, I think it's in your settings.py, it tries to look for the robots.txt file on a site, which we can see if Craigslist has one. Okay, it does. So what this is saying, the robots.txt file is, it basically tells bots what they can and can't access. So this is saying for no matter what bot it is, don't allow it to go into any of these folders. So luckily we don't need that for ours, but that's just a little bit of info about what it's doing. I mean, you could change that to false though and scrape whatever you want. But yeah, you just decide that for yourself, I guess. And then here we can see, so this is each row that it yields out, right? Looks like the top one was a 2012 Toyota Prius for $8,949. Location Indianapolis. So we can see that it worked. We see our parser worked. But this isn't a very friendly format. You know, this isn't what, if I want to pull in a list of all the cars that are for sale, this isn't really what I want to see. So what we can do is you can output it to different data types. So we can say, well, we'll just call the same thing. Scrapy crawl Craigslist bot. But you can do -o, which stands for output file. I'm going to say cars.csv because we're going to output it as a CSV, and then -t CSV to specify the type. Then we'll run it again, and we look in here. Oh, now it's done. Let me refresh this. We have a cars.csv. I'm going to show in Explorer. Open that up. And there we go. There it gives us the title for everything. There's all of our links, our posting times, the price, and the location. And so if we really wanted to get rid of like the spaces there, we could get fancy. And it's not really parsing specific. But you know, you could do a try and accept, or you could even, you know, remove the parentheses if there are any. But yeah, that's not a big deal. But yeah, so here's our information. So this is sort of just, you know, touching the very fringes of what Scrapy is capable of. It can go much more in depth than this. We could set it up to continue on to the next page for as long as there is one, and just have it keep parsing. We could set it up to accept some different filters, like if we say transmission is manual. You know, we could add that into our script and just have it do that, basically. Maybe take user input and have the user input change the URL to be different, and say our minimum price is $5,000, right? And then that, because with Craigslist it's all through the URL. And then we could even feed this, back to our spider and have it run again to pull just these. So yeah, that's sort of an intro to Scrapy. Like I said, there's a lot more you can do with it, but if you have any questions about this video or about Scrapy in general, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. Alright, thanks for watching.